What if I told you that one man managed to sit at the same tables as presidents, princes, billionaires, and world-renowned scientists, while secretly running one of the most disturbing trafficking operations of modern times, and for years, almost no one stopped him? This is not speculation or fiction. This is the story slowly revealed through court records, testimonies, flight logs, and sealed documents that later became known as the Epstein files. Jeffrey Epstein did not rise the way most wealthy figures do. There was no clear origin story, no well-documented company, no visible list of clients that explained his fortune. He was described as a financier, but the details were always vague. Yet his lifestyle was anything but modest. He owned luxury mansions in Manhattan and Palm Beach, a massive ranch in New Mexico, and a private island in the Caribbean. He flew on private jets and hosted powerful guests. What made Epstein unusual was not just his wealth, but how easily he moved through elite circles. He was not treated like a stranger trying to buy access. He was treated like someone who already belonged. That access became his greatest shield. Epstein cultivated relationships with people who carried influence, status, and credibility. These connections gave him legitimacy. They made people less likely to ask uncomfortable questions. When someone is surrounded by power long enough, suspicion fades. Silence becomes normal. Behind this carefully crafted image was a pattern of abuse that lasted for years. According to victim testimonies, Epstein targeted vulnerable underage girls, often from difficult financial backgrounds. He approached them directly or through recruiters, offering money for what was described as a simple massage. Many of the girls were teenagers. Some were even younger. Once inside his homes, the situation changed. Survivors later described being groomed, pressured, and abused. The process repeated again and again. Victims were paid afterward, reinforcing the cycle and normalizing the trauma. This was not limited to one location. The same stories emerged from different places, from New York to Florida, from New Mexico to his private island. Survivors described schedules, routines, and expectations. The consistency of these accounts painted a picture of an operation that was organized and deliberate, not spontaneous or accidental. In the mid-2000s, law enforcement in Florida finally began investigating Epstein. Detectives interviewed victims and gathered evidence. The case appeared strong. But what followed shocked many observers. Instead of facing federal charges that could have put him behind bars for life, Epstein received an unusually lenient plea deal. He served a short sentence in a county jail and was granted work release privileges that allowed him to leave jail for much of the day. Federal prosecutors later acknowledged that the deal protected potential unnamed co-conspirators from prosecution. For the victims, the message was devastating. The system that was supposed to protect them had failed. For the public, the case faded quickly, buried under legal language and quiet settlements. Epstein returned to his life of wealth and influence, and for a time, it seemed like the story was over. It wasn't. Years later, survivors began speaking again. Civil lawsuits were filed. Journalists revisited old police files. Courts were forced to unseal documents that had been hidden for years. These documents included sworn depositions, witness statements, emails, and flight logs. Collectively, they became known as the Epstein files. They did not offer a single clean narrative. Instead, they revealed fragments. Names appeared, disappeared, and reappeared. Some individuals were mentioned by witnesses. Others appeared in travel records or social calendars. It is important to be clear. Being named in these files does not automatically mean guilt. Courts decide guilt, not public opinion. But the scale of Epstein's social network raised an unavoidable question. How did a man with such a documented pattern of abuse remain protected for so long while surrounded by some of the most powerful people in the world? In 2019, the story returned to the global spotlight when Epstein was arrested again, this time on federal sex trafficking charges. This arrest was different. There was no quiet deal. No special treatment. For the first time, it appeared that Epstein would face real consequences and potentially testify about others involved in his world. Many believed this was the moment the full truth would finally come out. Then, only weeks later, Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. Authorities ruled his death a suicide, but the circumstances immediately triggered widespread distrust. Security cameras malfunctioned. Guards failed to perform required checks. Records were incomplete. To the public, this did not feel like a simple failure. It felt like the final collapse of trust in a system that had already failed too many times. A man who held answers, names, and connections was suddenly gone. After Epstein's death, attention shifted to those around him. Ghislaine Maxwell, his longtime associate, was arrested, tried, and convicted for helping recruit and traffic underage girls. Her conviction confirmed what many survivors had said for years. Epstein did not operate alone. He had help. He had enablers. He had people who made the system work. Yet even after that conviction, many questions remain unanswered. The files suggest a network, but networks are complex. They leave gaps. Some people were questioned. Some were never charged. Some settled civil claims without admitting wrongdoing. Others denied involvement entirely. The truth, fragmented across documents and testimonies, still feels incomplete. The Epstein files are unsettling not because they promise scandal, but because they expose how power behaves when left unchecked. They show how money can delay justice, how influence can intimidate victims, and how silence can be maintained for decades. They reveal a system that did not break all at once, but slowly, quietly, in ways that were easy to ignore until it was too late. This story continues to matter because it is not just about one man. It is about how institutions respond to wealth. It is about whose voices are believed and whose are dismissed. And it is about how many warning signs can be ignored when the cost of speaking up feels too high. As more documents are released and more survivors come forward, the Epstein files remain a reminder that truth does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it leaks out, page by page, testimony by testimony, carried forward by people who refuse to stay silent. The real question left behind is not simply who was involved. It is how long the world allowed it to happen, and how many people chose comfort over accountability.